Don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing. Don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want Rogue One on that screen more than you could ever know. Make my dreams come true. All I want for Christmas is Rogue One to show a story. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The first Star Wars movie that hasn't been a part of some trilogy. It's almost like a spin-off movie, but at the same time, it's almost like a prequel. So it's kind of like transitionary ground for Disney, just trying out this whole spin-off thing and seeing what they can do with it. And it's also based off something that kind of we know and love, which is Star Wars Episode 4, and even for some of you who love it, Star Wars Episode 3. I don't love Episode 3, but maybe you do, and that's okay. Everyone. So this movie is directed by Gareth Edwards. He's the guy who directed the new Godzilla movie, which I didn't really care for. But one thing that guy's good at is just showing the scope of things. Just showing how big things are in comparison to humans, man. This movie felt big. And if you can watch this on the big screen, watch it on the big screen, man. Because everything just feels so big. It just feels like Star Wars, man. In space. It just feels like Star Wars, man. In space. Now, this movie, it's not a perfect movie. Don't get me wrong, I liked it, but it has some problems. And this is a completely spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to be diving into any spoilers whatsoever. I am going to have a spoiler-free review. I sometimes don't do spoiler-free reviews, but this movie warrants a spoiler-free review. That being said, character development. There's not a lot of character development in this movie. There are people who are there, and they're interesting. They're really interesting, and even really cool. But there's not a lot of depth to that. But for me, characters are the most important thing of a movie. I mean, even all the greats, Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, I mean, they all know it's movies. We don't go to the movies to watch things blow up. As much as Michael Bay would like to think that, we go to movies for the characters. At least I do. I mean, look at a movie like E.T. It's not a movie about an alien. It's a movie about a boy and the connections he makes. I mean, even a film that I watched recently, which I'm going to go to a review over, Real Steel. It's not a movie about robot boxing. It's a movie about a father and his son and their connections and the bonds that they make. It's a great movie. We go to movies to see these human characters. And man, oh man, just asking for some development, it's not asking a lot. Just a little something, you know? But I felt like these characters were shallow and not a lot of development was given to them. The last problem I have was the villain. The villain got marveled, man. The villain got marveled. Okay? Krennic, he is a really strong entry point. But then he just gets overshadowed by some other people. And he doesn't really do a lot. And it's just like, he's not that cool. Now, obviously there are other threats in this movie. The Death Star and other things that do make suspension build up. So it's not like this movie doesn't have suspension because of a weak villain. There is suspension, and there is that tensity that you're like, oh, come on, what's gonna happen? Oh, you know, there is still that. But it would have been even more so if the villain, Krennic, would have been a lot cooler, a lot eviler, and had more to do in the movie. Guys, I didn't hate this movie, though. I didn't hate this movie. There's a lot of cool things in this movie. Man, and I can't talk about a lot of them because spoilers. But you guys go watch my spoiler-free review. I'll be putting it out shortly after this one. But just to name a few things, this is a war movie, okay? This is a war movie. This is full on just storming the beach in Normandy, saving Private Ryan in space, man. This is a war movie. Star Wars. We actually get the wars, man. In space and on the ground. It is epic. I would go see this movie just for the third act, man. You know, I kind of banged on a lot of the characters, but, you know, there's one character in this movie that really shines, and that's K-2SO. K-2SO may be my favorite droid of all time. Even cooler than R2-D2, okay? I love R2-D2, okay? I love BB-8. But K-2SO, man, he takes the cake. This guy's got a real dry sense of humor. He lightens the movie up. It's a very just tense, gritty movie, but he lightens it up with his dry humor, just saying whatever pops into his head. And this guy, man, I mean, he got more development than most of the characters, okay? This guy is funny. And he's also played by Alan Tudyk, the guy from Firefly. Yeah, have you ever seen a movie called I, Robot? Okay, you know that robot in there, Sonny? That guy. He voices K-2SO. I, Robot is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. I watch it 80 times and I would never get tired of it. And I thought, I was like, is that Alan Tudyk guy? And it is. And he does a great job as playing this robot. I don't know, I guess he's getting typecast as playing robot voices, just like Michael Keaton's getting typecast as playing birds. Another thing I really like about this movie is just the sense of how everything's falling apart. Just the Empire's presence across the universe. It's just felt with those big Star Destroyers hovering over the place, stormtroopers going left and right. It's just, the weight of it is felt. One character's like, you don't understand. Everything's falling apart. They're building a new weapon. A planet killer. You know, nowadays planet killers so cheap. You got Death Star 1, you got Death Star 2, you got Star Killer Base. They're just, selling cheap now. But before, there were no planet killers. This is like, just the weight of this Death Star is felt. And it's felt well. I'm going to give Rogue One an 85. My final thoughts on this. This is an awesome Star Wars movie. It has the feel of the original trilogy with a lot of new innovative stuff. It's the same thing, but different. And that's all you can ask for in a sequel or spin-off of something. Give me the same thing, but a little bit different. And despite its flaws, this is a great Star Wars movie. I plan to watch it again in theaters, maybe depending on the old budget, and I definitely plan on buying it on DVD, and it made me want to just pop in A New Hope as soon as I was home from theaters. I want to give a shout out to Daniel. He's one of my Patreons. He donates to the show at patreon.com/yourhostedge. He gives $5 a month. Thanks for upping your patronage. He gets to be on my creative team now. He gets to give suggestions to the show, and he also gets shout outs to his podcast, The Rave Corner. Check that out. They talk about movies. They talk about nerdy stuff just like I do. It's awesome. Go check it out. And if you feel like supporting the show, you feel I've earned it, go donate to patreon.com. And as always, thanks for watching.